Welcome to Canadian Justice. I'm Christine Van Gyn, and today we're talking about a recent ruling from the Quebec Court of Appeal on Bill 21. Passed by the National Assembly of Quebec in 2019, Bill 21 prohibits public servants from wearing religious symbols or clothing while on the job, ostensibly in an effort to preserve the religious neutrality of the state. The bill was justified on the grounds of a French concept called laïcité. Laïcité is a notion of more than just separation of church and state and freedom of religion. It creates freedom from religion as well, based on the concept of a totally neutral state. The law applies to public employees in positions of authority from wearing religious symbols while on duty, and it applies to jobs like teachers, crown prosecutors, judges, police officers, and others. It prohibits them from wearing symbols like a hijab, a kippah, or a cross. In order to avoid a legal challenge on the basis of the charter protected right to freedom of religion, Quebec preemptively invoked the Notwithstanding Clause, Section 33 of the Charter. But the law was still challenged as a violation of religious freedom. Here today to discuss the outcome of the appeal are two experts, Derek Ross of Christian Legal Fellowship and Guillaume Rousseau, who is a professor of law at University of Sherbrooke. Thank you both so much for joining me today. Derek, let's talk first about this law and what it does. How does it apply and who does it apply to?
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, Christine, Bill 21 is a Quebec law that purports to entrench laïcité or a secular neutrality as an official doctrine in Quebec and requires that all institutions, all public institutions in Quebec be neutral. And that itself is not controversial. What is controversial is the means by which the law purports to advance that laïcité or that neutrality. And it does that, as you mentioned, by banning the wearing of religious symbols in certain public spaces. And specifically, it applies to a number of positions, prescribed positions set out in the legislation, where individuals who work for certain government agencies, lawyers who work for the government, school teachers, police officers, a number of other prescribed roles are prohibited from wearing religious symbols at work. And so the concern that that has raised, that groups like Christian Legal Fellowship and others have raised, is that that effectively excludes religious minorities and others who openly identify with their religion from public participation. It excludes them from the right of equal access to public service on the basis of their religion.
Derek, do we have any information about people who have either left their job or been fired from their job because of Bill 21? Is there any information about that?
I know there was some data that was being collected. I don't think that the evidence was declared upon or issued in the court ruling. I personally know of some colleagues, and one in particular, a lawyer who wears a hijab as an expression of her faith, who has not been able to seek her position that she had always wanted to as a public prosecutor in Quebec.
Now, Guillaume, I mentioned in the introduction, and Derek has referenced it as well, that this is about this French notion of laïcité. Can you explain? I did give a bit of an explanation, but is there anything you want to add about what laïcité means? Is it uniquely French? And how it's viewed as an important concept in Quebec?
Yeah, laicité is similar to secularism, but secularism is more sociological, while laicité is more political. I think that would be one difference. And if you look at Section 2 of the Act respecting the laicity of the state, you really see the four elements of laicity, and they are separation of state and religion, religious neutrality of the state, equality of all citizens, and in the French version is citoyen et citoyenne, so basically equality of all citizens, male or female, and freedom of conscience and religion. And what is very important to look at also is Section 4, because in Section 4, the Act creates a right to secular public services and secular institution to the extent provided in the Act respecting the laicity of the state. Therefore, there is the prohibition of the wearing of religious symbols. It prohibits also all civil servants from covering their face, because if you go for a service from the government and you are faced with some civil servant with the face covered for religious reason, while well, you don't have a right to secular public services, or you have that right, and that right
We
is being violated.
we've got to go to break, but we'll be right back.